So I am going to respectfully ask that we keep the questions until after the lecture. Because we've got a lot to cover, and this is going to be a whirlwind. This is likely the bloodiest era of English history. These people really did not like each other. And there were certain factors, or should I say certain elements of the factions that are particularly, hold particular animosity for each other. And we'll get into that pretty much right away. But let's explain the War of the Roses first. Okay, the Wars of the Roses refers to the badges associated with the Lancasters and the Yorks. The white rose represented York, and the red rose represented Lancaster. Now, during the time, the white rose was an actual symbol of the Yorkists. Okay, however, the red rose, this was a Tudor addition. The Lancastrians didn't really adopt a red rose for their house. That was done by the Tudors to kind of symbolize the joining of House Plantagenet and House Tudor. As you can see here, this is the Tudor rose that I'm sure everybody's seen, and you'll notice that it has both the white and the red rose in it. Okay, so let's get started. When we stopped last week, Henry VI had a bout of mental illness. Okay, he grew very melancholy and unresponsive. During that time, Richard, the Duke of York, had himself declared Lord Protector and Chief Regent because Henry wasn't in good shape. Well, Henry's wife, Henry's queen, Margaret of Anjou, was not happy with this at all. She had just given birth to a healthy heir, and she wanted to make sure that that heir would succeed the throne. Whereas Richard, the Duke of York, could have tried to seize the throne as soon as he came back from Ireland and became Lord Protector. However, he chose not to. In the end, he ended up being the heir to Henry VI. This made Margaret very, very, very unhappy. Margaret was a schemer. She was young, but she was a schemer. So she basically built up an alliance of the nobles against Richard and worked to reduce his influence. In 1455, Richard was pretty much thought he would either be arrested for treason or just straight up murdered. So he decided to do a preemptive strike and start the Wars of the Roses. Open warfare came at the First Battle of St. Albans. Several prominent Lancastrians were killed. Henry was imprisoned, and Richard resumed his role as Lord Protector. The Lancastrians, on the other hand, were inspired by Margaret to contest York's influence. This is what started the feud that's going to last pretty much until the end of the dynasty. The animosity is going to come to a head in 1459. In 1459, Richard summoned the Earls of Warwick and Salisbury to join him at his stronghold at Ludlow Castle in the Welsh Marches. Okay, here come those Welsh Marches again. Okay, very, very important strategic location in medieval England. One reason is because if you have access to the Welsh Marches, you basically have access to the Welsh. Now at this point, the Welsh were incorporated into England at this point. There was no more Welsh sovereignty. However, the Welsh have always been fiercely independent. And to have them on your side, as we saw last week at Agincourt, could definitely be an advantage. On September 23rd, 1459, in the Battle of Blore Heath in Staffordshire, a Lancastrian army tried to prevent Salisbury from reaching Ludlow. They failed. He ended up reaching Ludlow. The Yorkist armies confronted a much larger Lancastrian force at the Battle of Ludford Bridge, and they ended up pretty much losing. Because Warwick, who brought in a garrison from Calais, well, as soon as they saw the size of that Lancastrian army, guess what they did? They all defected and went to the other side, pretty much leaving York and his group in the lurch.